the secret art of musical sound design in games. That's right, this rare live broadcast masterclass with award-winning and BAFTA-nominated composer and interactive sound alchemist Brian de Oliveira, Sackboy, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Resident Evil 7, will take you behind the scenes into some of the unique techniques and inspirations that have garnered critical acclaim in the games that he has contributed to. Well, he's a storyteller and inventor at heart, okay? So Brian will show some of his unusual yet inspiring creation processes from R&D, workflow, and execution, and then iteration, okay? How to develop and express oneself as a sound artist within these interactive secrets, okay? So this session is in English, so if you want to watch it or listen to it in Portuguese, just please access our link here at our channel, all right? So please, let's welcome Brian de Oliveira. He's composer at La Hacienda Creative. How are you, Brian?
Doing really good here. It's not a sunny day in Montreal, but it's at least nice weather for Montreal.
You have such a nice background. I loved it.
Yeah, we're actually here at our main studio. Would you like to switch the camera quickly? We're here with my assistants. We have Marilyn, we have Rudy here as well, and we have Sebastian.
That's amazing. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, we have a whole mini studio here to show you guys. Gonna try to run through a lot. There's a lot of material to cover here.
This is so nice. I must tell you, like the whole crew around here is just like, hey, that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Brian. So thank you so much for your time, and please, the screen is yours.
Thank you, thank you. So yes, we have a lot of material to cover, so I'll try to get through at least the first part a bit quicker. I do have a keynote. So yeah, I'll just start with our keynote here, if you guys can switch it. Getting into, we'll just give you a bit of description. The nice thing is that we're here in the room, actually, but as you can tell, this is one of the oldest studios in existence in Canada, probably the oldest, actually, that's still running. It was built in 1942 by RCA and by Emil Berliner, the inventor of the gramophone. So there's a lot of history here. And it's nice because we've been able to, in a sense, transmute the workflow and the sound here into video games, to this whole new medium in a way that, you know, you wouldn't expect. So this has been the core of how we, at least the space is part of the core of the philosophy, how we work, because we like to do things live as much as possible. You're going to see there's a whole process to it, and it's basically a state of mind, but from that state of mind, you can kind of create your own sound, whether it's sound effects or music. So yeah, there's got quite a bit of material to go over. We're going to try to introduce a bit, show how we spend a lot of time doing research. For me, I would say it's actually around 80 to 90% of R&D and thinking about it and developing the sounds before getting into the execution. We'll get into that a bit more. And then obviously we got execution and the integration. And then we're going to have some behind the scenes footage, and also we're going to do a little live demo for you guys. So just to give you guys a quick overview, we have a bunch of other games, but sort of 3 key games that we've done. I'm going to mention Paponio. We have I think you guys would know this because it was set, it has a very Brazilian and South American vibe and setting. This was the first game that I personally did when I started back in 2010 into video games, and it inspired me as a creator for doing music and sound, and basically it's changed my life, and this is where we are right now because of this game. So yeah, a very special game that we've worked on. We've also done, obviously, Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That's our latest one. And the one in between, which was really cool too, is Resident Evil, where we actually created instruments and sound sets that the composing team at Capcom then used to create their own sets of music and sounds, along with me doing the soundtrack. So just a quick overview. There's many more. You guys can check out our website after. Happy to answer some questions as well. So I'm going to delve into a few of the different projects. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was a key project for us. I spent personally almost 4 years working on this project. So I got a lot of time to talking about R&D and the process. This is a great example of a game that you could dig in deep, because I basically started everything, you know, as sort of one way, and then kept on reinventing. And the actual production process, what you hear was actually after 3 years. But I'll give you guys a little bit of a background just so you can get an idea of the work. So this is one of the first pieces that I did when I spoke with Rob Bridget and we started working. Rob Bridget's the audio director for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. A genius of a man. You should check out his books if you're into sound design for games. He's on his third book right now, and it's pure wisdom. I've learned a lot from him. And just as a special note, that's one thing I would say as a composer and as a sound designer, and also as a creator, you really gotta like having people like that you work with. For example, the audio directors. For me, even though he wasn't the musician, we were both creating the experience together as sound creators. So, and that's one thing that we actually work together to really kind of blur the lines, as you will see. But I'll just play a little clip quickly just to show, just how I started doing some of the music, and then we'll keep going. So this was one of the first pieces that I did for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and it was an exploration of like, how could we take a soundtrack and sound effects and start to create this special space. Let's call this musical sound design. This is the focus of this talk, and creating this ambiguous sound where it's not sound effects and not music. It's something that's that meeting point where it's an ambiguous, but in a good way. And this was kind of the just like I look at Shadow of the Tomb Raider as having done a master's in musical sound design, because the basis of creating this game was to really go deep and seeing how far we could push this. So this was the beginning of a journey of going deep into this creative process and this state of mind. So a big thing that I love to do, and this is with pretty much every game, as much as it's afforded. The nice thing about games is that we can take, sometimes they take years, mostly they take years, so we can take a time. I try to travel quite a bit. For example, with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I went to Mexico and spent a few weeks researching, met a bunch of people that have reinvented and kind of revived the ancient art of making music using the old Aztec instruments and the old Mayan instruments. And I spent a lot of time going throughout Mexico, ended up in a little village, finding old stones. We've got quite a huge collection, and as you can see on the right hand side, I came back with over 10 major suitcases, and people are even at the airport. They're like, "What are you doing? You're doing sound for a video game? What is this?" But the fun thing was also going into places like the National Institute of Heritage, and they have a special place. I'll play you guys a clip. I actually managed to find field recordings from the archaeologists, and I spent literally like a week just listening through these. The photo in the middle is the station, and I think the clip should play if it all goes good. So these are field recordings. I immersed myself along with meeting people, but trying to find what the music is in these far off regions and what you really were hearing. So this was just one clip, and then. What I did after that, I realized that I couldn't just do music. Even though I had all these instruments and it's all beautiful and we were coming up with really cool sounds, I was like, I need to take this further. So I came up with an excuse, and I actually realized that I should be performing this music and the sound and in a real space to understand how we could actually get people to react and how they would feel. So since we're always sworn to secrecy with games, I created an artistic project in this dome. We have this beautiful experimental dome here in Montreal. It's called the SAT, the Center for Experimental Arts. And I created a shamanic musical experience where we're doing prototyping for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And I'll show you a little clip here. This is like a trailer just to give a quick idea. So I spent about almost 2 months trying this. We workshopped this together. I flew one of the main musicians from Mexico, and he plays these beautiful conch shells. Now I play them also. We're obsessed with them. We love them so much. But what was beautiful about it was that we actually got to, as every performance, after the time that we rehearsed, we spent a month performing it about 4 days a week, almost every day. And then we had people coming back and spending more and more time. And I'll show you behind the clips just for you guys to get an idea of this. And what you hear is actually these volcanic rocks that I found in a far-off village in Mexico. Was a dancer. What we did actually, we facialized, we added sensors to her hands, and she was moving her hands. I can't quite tell from the video, but there's actually flying all around. We went through these different stages. And basically, I was just trying to figure out how to create this dramatic world. What would happen if these Aztecs had lived in hidden away, just like how it is in the game, and kept on developing their music, and what would that world be like? And this was a good few months that we spent doing this. And then I'll show you guys actually a result of this sort of like musical workshopping, and pretty much like a huge part of what you hear here is a direct result of all this workshopping that we did. You can hear those horns and far off in the background, and you play it around a lot with this visualization. And so let's keep going. So yeah, this is just one process. We'll go through a few different ways, but just to show you a little bit of behind the scenes of how far we can take creating music and sound design. And every process of what I like to do is not to reinvent myself. But in this one, it's good to show you kind of what was the result of the evolution also, because after having spent all this time thinking about the actual ambiguous sound of the music within the sound effect world also, it changed how I approached it. Even though I was playing many instruments, a lot of the way that I played, and even having learned that for pre-Hispanic culture, they don't actually think of music as music. Music is actually an expression to connect with the world, with the gods, and with the environment around oneself. So that changed a lot of the way of how I think about creating sound and music. And from there, I actually ended up, once we did the sort of like the real world music, I went back into doing the soundtrack, and things started changing. And also, we did move studios, you'll see, but there was a huge evolution process that happened from going through this process. And this is the kind of thing that I feel you can't force. It's just part of the process and part of the journey, and what makes it really interesting to be a creator. So I'll just play a clip of kind of like, at the end when I did the trailer for Shadow of the Terminator, and it's kind of like the 2.0 or 3.0 version of what I started in the beginning. Yeah, so this is where we can start getting into a little bit of the nitty gritty and getting into the background and how do we really execute this. And I wanted to start with kind of giving you a screenshot of some of the sessions that I do. So the way I like to work, and we all work here, is what you hear, what you see is what you get. At least personally, I like to, when I'm creating the music, I like to do it from the beginning to the end as one take, as one performance. There's a magic and sort of special, energy that you get when you're creating it in this way. You're committing as a creator, And this is one thing that I find that, using computers are amazing, but we're so used to just kind of doing whatever, and we know that we can undo, we can just keep on going. But what happens is that we lose that creative focus as a result. And I think as a society as a whole, it's part of the whole distraction as human beings that we're enduring right now. And I'm very aware of that, and I try to kind of bring it back to the center, especially when we're here creating. And this applies to all. I'm talking about even in the execution of sounds, and even if it's just grabbing a piece of dirt and we play that dirt, whatever it is, be in the moment, be fully there. That I can say is one of the secrets to getting to this point. I personally get up in the morning and sing. A lot of times I will sing 1 hour or one note for a whole hour. And that's part of my meditation and my creative process. And it's like this kind of focus that's allowed me to kind of go as deep as I go with these creation processes. So just to give you an idea of some of the tracks with Tomb Raider, this was one session and we just layered, but in my head, I'm kind of creating as once I know how the interactivity works in a game and I've played through, and this is for all of us, we kind of start picturing how we can layer and how we can build upon these things. And it's kind of, in a sense, game design or, sound and musical design in games, it's kind of like a sonic architecture. It's not just the execution. You have to kind of understand how it works, how the structure is, how these interactions will come about, and then create accordingly. And what I've done is kind of, as I'm doing this, I let myself kind of be for lack of better words, a musical medium, a sound medium, and I express that laid down on paper or on the screen very quickly, and it's done. And then we just move on. And we'll just show you just a quick, this is how once I have all these, sometimes there are hundreds of tracks, and then I'll just bounce it down. And this is what I give to Rob, who was basically implementing it with the sound designers into Wise, into the game engine, which is something also we're going to touch upon. And here we're just going to solo some of the elements, just to show you a little bit of, for example, this is just a low percussion. And the idea with this music system was to create intensity by adding different layers. It's actually a very simple way of working with games. Works very well. The one thing that we needed to do with some of this gameplay was to also just, each stem in itself needed to work by itself. So, we're creating these musical architectures or sound architectures. Like some of it is here's the bass, and this could just live on its own, or it could be just musical effects, like what's coming up here with death whistles. Oh, here we go. So much fun. This was basically, he would take it and throw it all around. We'll see some examples of this, but that's the thing. Once you start having all these elements, you can, working with a team, with an interactive team, you can really start to ideate, and the imagination is really the limit here. So this is just a kind of like a behind the scenes, and just to show you how this kind of approach will work in a real in-game situation. Here's some examples of the conch shells. As you're hearing, there's horns kind of coming from the background, and little tiny tools and stuff. This is actually also from little rattles and things that I had gotten in Mexico, and the sound team placed it up there in the roof, and in a sense you were getting it. It was this this an ambiguous sound. Is it music? Is it sound design? It's both. And just to go forward, here's another example of a kind of a bowed instrument also, and having these sounds appear in 3D. And that's the thing that we'll touch upon. But it's nice to think about, like, sound in a game is 3D. We can place it wherever we want. So it opens up so many possibilities. So if for all of you that are creating sounds and music, we're living in a time that we couldn't do this even 20 years ago. This is all new. This is a whole new field in itself, and a new way of expressing your creativity in music and sound. So I'll just play this clip. As you can tell, is like, is this music? Is this the world in itself, or is it the musical world and they're reacting? We had a lot of philosophical conversations. How is this a character? Is this a being within the world? There's so many ways that you can approach it, and there's no right or wrong way. It's however you decide to do this. And I'll just fast forward quickly and to sort of the last example, which is actually, of all things, my own breath. I didn't realize it, but I actually have like a 3-octave range, vocal range. So I started discovering this in Tomb Raider, and we just the breaths were a fun thing. And Rob, I was doing stuff and just messing around, and Rob was like, "Hey, wait a minute, like send me some of that stuff separately." I was just doing it as effects on the music, and then he incorporated and did this with it. Yeah, you get the idea. Nice thing about this one was that it was my breath, but also, as you can, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's a lot of these around. These are Aztec death whistles, and they were actually used in war. You could say these are like in a sense, the first sonic weapons, because they would, have hundreds of these. Imagine having this sound times hundreds all around you, surrounding you with the sound. Imagine this surrounding you in real life back then, how it must have felt. And it's nice because in a sense, we've brought back to life things like this in a 3D space, and we can all experience it now. I've even actually made a musical instrument. I'll mention that later, and you all can actually try it out yourselves at home. So just as a case study, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we set about going and creating this ambiguous sound, and we had like a kind of like this one sweet spot in the middle where things were meeting. But at the end of it, we really expanded upon it. If you play the game, a lot of times you might not know what the element is, but there's that exchange and sort of ambiguity of where the sound is coming from or what it is, and to us that was a success because we managed to make the world live and create a living, breathing, musical and sound being within this world in itself. So you go there, you experience it. It is kind of like its own ecosystem, and that's the beautiful thing about interactive experiences and being able to create music and sound for this. So so that was Shadow of the Tomb Raider. We're going to get into a little bit more of the field recordings. I'm going to go back to the past. This was actually in the first game with Papua Neo. And there's an interesting story because I work with Vander Caballero, who's a genius game designer. And even though I'd never done games, I had a very good, open sort of creators around me. And Vander, the game designer, he was basically saying, hey, this is an open book. Tell your story within what we're creating here. And for that too is, this is where I started the whole process of the journey of going to different places and bringing that energy back and creating with that. But part of it also is that it's a lot of fun is field recording. I'll just play a little clip of this one here. That's me at like... We're getting ready to go out in the middle of the night to record we're in Boca Brava, which is actually kind of this almost safari island actually, so we didn't realize it, but it's amazing. Like there's all kinds of crazy wildlife. You just gotta step like a few feet away and it's freaking amazing. So anyways, I'm getting ready. Got my 2 mics, my little kit. We're all set to go. I'm just trying to get some sounds before the boats start moving around, and also we'll try to catch the birds. So we're just gonna catch a bit of nighttime just before dawn, and then we're gonna try to get all the glorious sounds of monkeys howling. Well, this is we ended up traveling for like 4 hours. I don't know if you can see it there. That's where we came from. All the way over there. It's all cloudy and it's super wet. It's crazy, but at least we're going back home now. Yeah, there's a lot of lack of sleep when you're doing field recording. The secret's always to wake up as early as you can and try to avoid human distractions. That I would say is actually the biggest challenge these days, because everybody's tooting a horn. There's something going on. We're too many humans. It's sad, but it's true. So a lot of times when you want to get these sounds, you're going to have to go in the middle of nowhere and take your time and find those few moments where there's not something going on and actually nature's expressing its sound. But that to me, actually, funny enough, I went off to the jungle, and when I came back and I did the music, that's what influenced my process and for Papua New Guinea. And I realized that this was kind of like the eureka moment where I was like, oh, and it's actually the start of what we're seeing as a kind of a preface with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's like I don't need to just create a song. I can just also create a space. I can just use sound for what it is, the sound of the birds, and think of it as musical sound and expression. And one thing, fun thing that I did also, I got like all kinds of different instruments from Brazil. For example, I had these hunting whistles that come from I forgot the specific state, but there's 32 of them, and I created a whole set of sounds for these buildings. I'm going to show you a little clip, a little. Oops, let me go back here. Oops, we forgot about it. In the side, yes, here it is. I'll play it quickly. This is just a sort of the behind the scenes while we were doing Papua New Guinea. Yeah, so this is just a little bit of what we've done, and we're gonna actually try to do a bit of more live on the spot, since we wanted to do a workshop of this. Let me just switch to, let's stop sharing. Are we, oh, yes, we're on camera. So yeah, now's the fun part, because we're gonna get to do a little bit of this live. So I'm here with Gabriel and Marie-Hélène and Rudy and Sebastian here. And we're gonna actually try to take an old scene from Papo and Yo and basically, you know, kind of recreate a bit of the process, just so you guys can see live how it kind of works. So yeah, we'll just, Gabriel, do you want to come with me? We'll just set up here. I'll come over here to the microphone. Let's put this here. So for normally, hold on, let's switch this here. I think we can switch. Are you up there? Okay. So, you know, as you guys have seen, normally we would take a lot of time and do a whole bunch of tracks and then choose it. Since we only have a few minutes, we're going to do a very quick version of it. But so the first thing I would do is just to, a lot of times, as a background for sound effects, is just to create the musical mood. And then a lot of times we'll even tune the sound effects to the music. But you know, having the music as a first step is actually a good thing. And then we have our resident monster somewhere barking back there. I think she's trying to guard against the ghosts. I don't know. Actually, you'll see, we turned her barking into monster sounds just recently. It's really good. So Marie-Hélène, just let us know when you're ready to record. Yeah, why don't you come in? We can take our time. That's the whole thing with doing things live. It's always little things that pop up, you know? It's not a human, it's an animal. Here we go. Yeah, I think this will work as a loop. Yeah, let's do that. So this is a good way. And what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to switch over. We're going to have Rudy join us here, and I'm just going to switch the microphone quickly and get you to go through a bit of the sound design process, or at least how we would grab some of this.
Hi everyone, so I'm ready. I'm going to show you, if it's possible, to show the video presentation of the demo.
Yeah. We can share my screen. So you should see.
Oh, well, he has a microphone. You need to speak.
Okay, so we're gonna make a sound design live recording for the presentation for the video you're actually watching. So it's like the process for making sound design is a little bit like the music process, because you have to see the scene, the entire scene, and see what's going on with the scene, what's going on with the characters. For example, there is a boy, there is a big monsters, there is which kind of different surfaces we have, which element we have inside the scene. So it's a little bit like the music process when you're making, for example, a movie. You have to see what's the emotions, what's going on during the scene. So it's a little bit like the same thing for a sound design. So we're going to do something pretty much basic, which is recording footsteps. So first of all, we have to list every sound we need for the scene. So for now, we have like footsteps. We see there is 3 different surfaces. There is some grass surface. We can do this with this. we have some wood here, and we have some dirt over here. So first of all, we're gonna record the grass. Marie-Hélène, are you okay? Yeah, perfect, let's go. So just footsteps like this. Okay, we're gonna switch with the wood section. Yes. And now the final one, the dirt. And that's all for now. Okay, so that's it. So we're gonna switch with the DAW, which is, we are actually using Reaper. So we're gonna edit those files first. Yeah, please. So this is the editing process. While you record it, you have to edit every sound, steps by steps, for example, or you can make a loop. You have different kind of process for this. So right now she's editing all the footsteps one by one, and we're gonna implement it into Wise a little bit later. So here, as you can see, you hear the grass and the wood. Okay. So we're gonna move on for the red monster. Oh, here. Oh yeah, I'm going to do it here. So the red monster, we have like creating his voice, like it's very big, it's very huge. Oh, thank you, like this.
He has a very monstrous voice.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm going to make like some random growl that we're gonna implement it into Wise after that. So can I have the video, please? Yeah, please. It helps a lot having the characters, because you have to feel the moment. You have to be inside the monster and be the monster. So this is the raw recording of the voice. I have the screen here. That was my presentation for Monster. Thank you. So this is the raw recording for the monster voice. So we have to jump into Reaper. I made like presets for the red monster. So you have just a second. Yeah. Ouais, c'est bon, c'est les deux. Is that the two same? Okay. So we have two tracks on the left, as you can see here and here. So we put the same file into the two sections, and this is the raw recording. Can you? So that's actually pretty good, I think. But we can make some tweaking sound design effects. For example, I just, for the first voice one morph, I put like a pitch and a phaser, which is going to change the voice. If we can just hear step by step, maybe, like up. So as you can see, just the pitch can change pretty much everything. So now we just add a little bit of phaser just for making some little bit growling sound. And if you mix it with the second track is actually making pretty much the same thing, but there is a different pitch here. So we can just play. So the pitch parameters are different, but when you mix it, the two, can I just, I don't know, maybe just a solo? And that's it for the monster. So now we're gonna jump into the wise, which is like, oh, sorry. While she is editing, I'm going to talk a little bit about wise, which is the sound sound engine we use for video games. Oh, sorry. Hello. So we use Wise for this is the sound engine we use for all the video game engine, like for example, Unreal Engine, Unity. We use it because it's based for sound and it's based for sound design, music, voice, pretty much every sound. We can do a lot of things inside Wise and it's very, very, very good. And you can do a lot of things very quickly than inside, for example, Unreal. So now, while she's editing the monster in live, we're gonna jump into Wise and we're gonna make like all the sound we recorded, so the music, the footsteps, the monster. We're gonna see how it's going on, how it works inside Wise, how we're gonna, for example, play footsteps inside an event, making the music and mix all the music, the voice recording and the footsteps together. And you will have like an overview of the sound inside the motor engine. So it's gonna take a little bit of time.
1 or 2 minutes.
1 or 2 minutes for bouncing all the sound, and we're gonna implement it inside Wise directly. So Brian, if you want to talk a little bit.
Yeah, actually. So I'll be wearing the. So one thing is that for those of you that are musicians, you can think of the Wise, the engine, the sound engine that powers a lot of these games. It's basically like a giant sampler. Just like how people are sampling beats and making hip hop beats, it's actually not that different. We're taking sounds and playing it back, and the game is the sequencer. It's what drives the action. So if you think this is something that when I started, when I had that eureka moment, it just made it so much easier to just think about it that way. And then you're just playing with colors and whatever you can imagine that you want to trigger or you want to combine, whether it's creating, a variation of something and then putting it in a 3D space, and then it's, triggering in tempo or not to tempo or according to action, or even just having something random. The imagination is the limit, and that's kind of the canvas, you could say, that we're working with these days. And it's only the beginning. With the new consoles that are coming out, we're going to be able to do so much more. It used to be that back in the days, you only had like 3 or 4 channels to work with, and you had to work, that's why a lot of the old video game music was limited, and then they're literally using, these little synthesized sounds. But we've come to a point where the limitations of sound don't really exist. It's whatever you imagine. So this is where we are right now. And I'm actually going to pass it back, because having something like this, this kind of amazing engine to work with is it's basically just the beginning. We're going to be able to do so much more already. It's really just the imagination. Here you go, Rudy.
Thank you. Do you want to talk during the Wise process?
So hi, I'm Marie-Hélène. I'm working for sound designer and integrator at La Hacienda. So now what you see is the Wise project. Essentially what I've done, I've edited everything we just record and I put it in the Wise project. So you can see we have footstep on dirt, footstep on grass, footstep on wood, and we're gonna play with it. So right now, all I have to do, I will add the monster voiceover we recorded earlier. I will put that in there. You can see all the process. And I will add our music track. Just there. Add it there. And voila. So now, if I play the track, you should be able to hear the music. And I can put more volume. So this is what we just recorded. We also have the footstep of the little boy in the video. And I can control live the speed of the footstep. So now he's running. Now he's walking. And we can change the surface. So this is what we're gonna play. And we also have the voice of the monster. You will hear it soon. So now the idea is we're gonna start the video and we're gonna do a real live sounding of the video with Wise. So I will just like that. Okay. So the video. Where's the video?
You have to solo the video.
It's there. Perfect. So I will start the music. So we already have the feel. And we'll start the video. So it's a live action you're gonna have there. So if it's not totally in sync, it's normal. Okay. Can you do play to the...
Yeah, I can do this.
Actually,
the Reaper?
do play a little before.
Just a little bit before. Okay,
And I will click back.
okay, like this.
Actually, I'm sorry. I didn't mute the project track, so we hear everything. I'm so sorry about that. We will start again. We still have the music here. And okay, start again.
To make the growl sounds?
Yeah, you can do that.
Because for the growl sounds, as Marie-Hélène made, is putting the growl size into a completely randomly order.
So we can, on va faire start ici. Here.
Let's start.
Okay. So yeah, this is essentially it. So it's a really straightforward way to do sound for the video game. And I hope you enjoyed it. I will let you Brian back. Can you help me?
Yeah. All right. So, as you can tell, same as how we play instruments, we actually play the sound effects as well. This is kind of the quick way to do it, but in doing this, you get the creativity going. We're just going to switch over here back, and yeah, here we go. So I think we're actually done for the presentation. And if you guys, sorry, we went a little bit over, but if you guys have any quick questions, we'd be happy to answer them. You stop sharing also. So yeah, I don't know if there will be people will be texting the questions, but yeah, if you guys have any kind of quick questions, we'll be happy to just go over whatever it is. Oh, great. Okay, wonderful. Oh, okay, so if we don't have any questions, I'm gonna do one last bit. And this is one sort of last bit of wisdom for all you guys that are trying to create design, music and sound. This is something that I'm using quite a bit these days. We're currently creating kind of like a spatial musical sound experience that's being recreated in 3D. And this applies for all games. And you know, the one thing I could leave you with is use a giant whiteboard wherever you can, and literally put all of your ideas, all of the possible sounds. So for example, here, I've actually laid out a path. This is a path in one of the games that we're creating. And I've actually laid down elements of what we'll be playing. You know, here's some musical phrases. And as you're walking within a path, things are changing and evolving and triggering in terms of musical sounds and sound effects. I even have things like tempo. So, you know, and then we get to other places, there's different elements that are happening. And this is a good way to also work with your team members. Yeah, one of the secrets to working in game design as a sound creator is being able to just express it, because, you know, there's one thing talking about it, but the trick is that a lot of people, we all have a different way of describing sound and music. So if you can actually lay it down like this, this is the best way. So yeah, just a quick once over. Yeah, and I think we've got 3 minutes left. Yeah, I guess I should do some closing thoughts. So we went over a lot. There's quite a bit to do. This is like, you know, in a sense, if you want to really go deeper into this world, I would say, like I was saying, it's all about a state of mind. If you can take your time, just start, basically do it your way, try to be original, and you will find a path. Oh, there's questions. Okay, here. Oh, yeah. A group, if you know. Okay, I'm going to read the question. I would like to know about the existence of an open game Foley forum or group, if you know. Yeah, I don't think there's a Foley forum for games, actually. That is one thing. I'm looking at you guys, because you guys would know more than me for Foley. No, there doesn't really exist. Maybe we should create one. Second question, is it possible to use Wise in Unity? Yes, it's made for that. It can work in Unreal. It can work in pretty much in almost every game engine. So if you learn Wise, it's kind of like the standard, kind of like the Pro Tools of the game world these days if you're doing sound. Start with that if you can.
You can even connect your DAW with Wise.
And yes, and as you can even connect your DAW, your digital audio workstation, with Wise. So when you're working on things, you can, you know, have it so that it's automatic. And I don't know if you noticed, but what Rudy and Marilyn did, especially Marilyn, where she's like a ninja, like to be able to do sounds like that quick and switch it over. This is the kind of like little tricks and tools that work really well. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much. I think we're out of time. I hope you guys enjoy the presentations. If there's anything, please get a hold of us. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Brian, that was so amazing. Everybody here was like mesmerized of watching this masterclass. Thank you so much, and thank you for all your crew as well.
Thank you. Well, we all thank you from cloudy Montreal, and hopefully we'll be able to make it to the next festival in person.
We'll see each other. I hope so. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
Big Festival 2021, the biggest games festival in Latin America.